Electricast. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Claudia Monticelli, your host for this podcast, Let's Talk Soul. I'm graced today to have a guest who is very particular. Inna Segal. Inna is talking to us from Australia. Inna, say hello to our audience.
Hello, everyone. Great to be here with you.
Good. I'll get you talking later. Let me introduce you properly. Inna Segal, she is a pioneer. She's a pioneer in the field of energy medicine and human consciousness. And human consciousness is one of those topics. When I was studying, I went to my professor when I was doing a PhD, and I was doing a certain type of PhD. And I said, well, no, I want it to be important. I want it to be something that I can talk. And he said to me, well, you start studying consciousness, your whole life will be occupied with that topic. She's also the author of the best-selling book, The Secret Language of Your Body. It has been translated into 27 languages with over 1 million copies sold worldwide. Her journey from illness and personal tragedy to profound self-healing. Not many people think they really don't even grasp the concept of self-healing. We'll be talking about that with her. This has led her to spend the past 25 years helping thousands transform pain into freedom. Through her books, healing card decks, and global teachings, Inna has worked with doctors, psychologists, creatives, and trauma survivors across more than 20 countries. She's also been featured on Fox, CNN, Sunrise, Channel 10, and ABC Radio. Now, first of all, Inna, I would like to know what a nice girl like you is doing in a place like Australia.
Well, I'd rather be in Italy right now, I have to say.
Yes, we were talking off the mic before, and she mentioned she had lived in Italy.
I have lived for a short time in Italy, and it's definitely one of my favorite countries in the world. I got to Australia I was born in Belarus, and when I was 9, we decided to immigrate. My brother was really sick, and after the Chernobyl accident, and my parents were told that he wouldn't survive unless we left.
Interesting.
And so, so we were on our way to Chicago, and while we were in Italy, we had to go through a process, kind of doing all the paperwork and all, things like that in order to get to Chicago, to America. And we were rejected from the process. And so my parents had a friend in Australia, and they contacted him and asked if he would be willing to sponsor us, which he did. And we got to Australia.
The rest is history, as they say. Let's talk about your work. Now, there's so many things. I mentioned to Inna beforehand, I mean, I could keep her here for hours, but I want to try to focus as much as we can. Let's start with the idea of illness. What truly causes illness, and why it's rarely just physical?
I mean, there's a lot of things that cause illness, but if we're, and we can break this down on the physical level, it's food, it's diet, it's chemicals, it's being in a toxic environment or having too many toxins inside the body. I think that's something most people would agree with. On an emotional level, it is connected to our inability to process difficult experiences, to process trauma, to learn from experiences, not from the mind, but through taking the time, slowing down, and actually breaking things down to understand what happened, why did it happen? Not necessarily that I made it happen, but how was I potentially involved and how did I take it? In other words,
Mm-hmm.
what was my perspective after as something was happening or after it happened?
Yeah.
And that perspective either allows our energy or our nervous system to work in a optimal way, or
Mm-hmm.
it essentially becomes numb or stuck, or we go into a fight or flight or a freeze response.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more we suppress and ignore things that have occurred where we took on the perspective that was negative, let's just say that was limiting, that was unhealthy, traumatic, whatever it was, the more we hold on to it, the more we push it away and suppress it and continue to act and behave in a way that um, strengthens those parts of us, essentially, meaning the victim, the parts that sabotage, the parts that hold us back. Eventually illness happens for a lot of people, and because the body's quite wise and intelligent, depending on the experience, a particular part of the body will then potentially have an illness based on what it's actually holding in itself in
Mm-hmm.
terms of that experience.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
For those of you, there is no video. You don't have the benefit of video, and I do, and I'm watching her, and I could tell that she spent a lot of time in Italy because she's gesticulating a lot. As you were speaking, I was reminded of the term mindfulness, which is an umbrella term, granted, but I guess the underlying premise is that being bringing your mind to bear on what you're doing is it's you know it's difficult to get someone who just, especially in today's world and especially in the Western world, to bring their mind to bear on what they're doing, actually think of what they're doing as they're doing it. In your work, have you found that there are people who just can't do that?
I found that when I meet somebody, they could be very much into that, where their mind is so chaotic and they're in such a state of overwhelm that we actually need to do quite a bit of work or processes to get them to be more in their body. But by that, I also mean to allow their nervous system to calm down from that chaos, from that sense of, when somebody's thinking all the time and they can't stop their thoughts, their nervous system is usually not operating very well. It's chaotic. And so, there's different steps for different people, I'm going to say,
Yeah.
towards connection.
So you're saying that for some it just takes longer,
Yeah.
perhaps?
Yes, definitely. And I can give an example. I had
Yes.
a client, I'm going to say, actually, years and years ago when I was still in my 20s, and he was an accountant, so he was definitely in his mind a lot and not in his body. And he came for a healing session, and the first time I got him to lie down on a massage bed, and I was kind of working with his energy and getting a sense of what his nervous system was doing,
Yeah.
where he was at. And then he said, "Oh my God, that was great. You did such a great job." And I said, "Really? What did you feel?" And he said, "Nothing." And I said, "What do you mean nothing?" And he said, "It just looked like you knew what you were doing." And
How
you know,
lovely.
and it's And this man had a heart issue. So his heart was not working the way it was meant to. And so he came because he had high blood pressure and issues with his heart, and he really wanted to work on it. And it took me probably over a year of working with him just
Yes.
to release the numbness, just to release the resistance of actually connecting to his body. And then it took a lot longer to get him to understand that his childhood in particular, and specifically his relationship with his mother, and because she was very harsh as he was growing up, created a situation where he started to shut down. And then he had some relationships, and he, like many of us, unconsciously was meeting his mother in another person's body. So he was having relationships with women who were like his mother, or had traits of his mother. And by the time he came to see me, he was in his late 40s, and he was basically saying, I'm never going to have a relationship again because it hurts so much. Now, what was really interesting was that as we were working on his heart, and finally one day I said to him, I need you to come and to the next session, and you need to tell me 10 reasons why it could be positive for you to have a relationship at some point in your life. And he came back the following week with 20 reasons of why he shouldn't have a relationship.
Oh my God. Poor
Now,
man.
funny enough, one day, as I was working on him, I had another client and student who was waiting, and as he was leaving and she was coming in, I saw this the way they looked at each other, and I felt this energy. And so the next time I said to him, is there something happening in your life that you want to tell me about? And essentially they got together,
Ah,
and they're still together. And I would say we are now probably 20 years later. So
you
he's
have to
been
put
in
that
a
on your
relationship.
resume. Cupid. She plays Cupid and it works. Oh dear. As you were speaking before, I'm not sure if I heard this, but I thought you said cards. We could do cards. Did you mention that?
No, but I do have cards.
Yes.
So I have
What are they like?
cards, yeah, on all different topics. So one, because I like, I guess what I like is to have reminders.
Yes.
And most of us get stuck in patterns, like I was saying, and we need reminders. And so I've created, I think it's probably, we're getting onto the eighth card deck. And so the most recent one that just came out is ancestral healing cards,
Yes.
which I had several of my friends and my daughter look at, and they're going, oh my God, that's a lot of work for me to do here.
Yeah.
Um, but I also made cards for heart healing, especially for people who've gone through either a separation or a breakup or a loss,
Mm-hmm.
and often losing a sense of creativity, a sense of self, a sense of adventure.
Yeah.
So those cards are there to really remind you to reconnect with your heart.
Yes.
I have one on healing and
Yes.
archetypes, and understanding more about where you're at and what's going on in general in the
Very
journey
into.
of
I'm
healing.
going to interrupt you. Do you mind? Archetypes, cards on archetypes. I use archetypal psychology in my work. Um, when you mentioned two different types of cards, one on ancestral healing and these archetypes. How do you operate with ancestral healing? Do you take a client, I guess I could, or a patient, I don't know, from A to B working with their ancestral trauma, or no? Or is it something you just make them aware of?
Well, I don't see many people one on one because I spend most of my time between writing and teaching and
Yes.
doing interviews and things like that. So I but I used to. I
Uh huh.
used to do that one on one, and I've also created courses
Ah,
where people go through a real journey, and we focus again. I love archetypes and I work with them a lot.
yes.
I actually think it's the easiest way to understand what happened in your ancestry, because most people don't have memories of things that happened when they were younger, or essentially, obviously, they don't know ancestors that they hadn't met. Maybe they've heard some stories, but they don't necessarily know. But in an archetypal form, and slash soul in these scenarios, we can invite these ancestors into our space. And incredibly, I've had so many clients who've told me that their ancestor, who they never met, told
Yes.
them very, very specific words that they went and talked to their family or their mother about. And those were the exact words that were said at a time when this person was in the womb, let's say,
Yeah.
or even before they were born. So we have such incredible access to that type of energy if it's done, properly, with lots of training and
Yeah.
understanding, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found that there's many, many ways to work on ancestry, from connecting in this way to, energetically inviting your ancestors
Yes.
into
Mm-hmm.
a process, or, an
Mm-hmm.
energetic process, and guiding people through that, to, sometimes working very particularly with, I guess, all of us have this energetic cords that connect us with other people. Originally, we're connected to our mother through
Mm-hmm.
the cord, right? And
Right.
that's our communication. And then we have these cords, which, unlike many people who talk about this from a place of just getting rid of them or cutting them, I talk about the fact that they actually carry enormous amount of information and feelings and understandings
Yeah.
that we have. And I don't believe in cutting energy, but I do believe in understanding and taking
Standing.
your time,
Yes.
right? Taking your time to work with it. So many different ways of working with ancestry, but also, essentially, Claudia, like, having time to recognize when the pattern that we're carrying, especially through the archetypes,
Yes.
are patterns that, our brother, our sister, our cousin, our uncle, our aunt, our mother, our grandmother, that all of the family carries it. And when we recognize that, obviously, then we can transform our part of it and separate ourselves from the bigger, family patterns, so that we can move forward in our own lives, because obviously we can't transform it necessarily for everyone in the family, because that's their journey too.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to ask you of something that I have found in my work, and perhaps you have too. Why does illness or even chronic pain often start in one part of the body, but it shows up elsewhere in the body? I can literally count on that. If someone says, "Look at my shoulder," I know I don't have to look at the shoulder. Does that, have you ever come across that?
Constantly, like you said, I really feel like where it shows up eventually is a result. It is a result of many, many aspects of kind of what happened in our lives. So I really believe it starts with a seed.
Mm-hmm.
where there is a potentiality or a possibility base often, and it often starts at a particular time in your life.
You know, Inna,
And
wait
what
a
I
minute.
found,
I'm going to stop you because I think probably as we did before, as you did before, use an example, maybe one of your clients.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, I can do that. So, and this is a great example. I recently actually spent some time with a friend of mine, and she's had a tumor for a very long time. It is benign, but it is in the area of her neck. It's still quite large and affects her nervous system, and it gives her pain. So I said to her, how about we sit down and I help you create a map and I help you to understand what actually happened and where it started and what it's about. So when we first originally started doing the work, I have a process where I go back in time and I look at all the timelines that are very specific to that issue without really knowing, and then we explore and figure it out. And so when we originally started, I think she's 62 at the moment. We went back to the timeline of 46. And I said to her, what happened when you're 46? And I also said to her, I am seeing an archetype of a woman and it feels like she's trying to throw up. So what happened? And she said to me, well, I don't know. And she's telling me about all these stories. And I know that that's not it until she gets to a point. And I said, what about the year before or the year after? And she said,
Yes.
well, the year after is when I figured I actually um, found out that I had the tumor, and the year before, my father died.
Ah.
And that was really, really interesting and really important because the reason I was actually seeing that this archetypal feminine in her was throwing up was because she had been lying about her sexuality and her relationships to, or being dishonest, I should say, to her parents because she didn't think that they could accept her for who she was. And so her mum had died earlier, and we'd also connected to that timeline.
Hmm.
But when her father died, what was really interesting was that she was starting to have pain and discomfort. But what we realized, had she not um, had that experience of literally, oh, I'm letting go at that exact time, then the tumor would not have been benign. But as we went back, we realized that the whole experience actually started when she was 6 years old.
Ooh.
And when she was 6 years old, it started around her reproductive system
Mm.
as opposed to ending up in the neck. And
Right.
it started with her actually, because 0 to 6 is often when that kind of, let's call it energetically, the root chakra starts to develop really strongly because it's a reflection of the physical body.
Yes.
And so for her, that, that was an area where she started to feel and go, oh, I'm feeling like maybe I'm not the same like other kids. Maybe I'm feeling something different about myself compared
Yes.
to others. And even though she never had reproductive issues, the shame that later kind of developed
Yes.
ended up first in her throat because to survive, she was dishonest with people in her family. And
Yes.
then, and people that were close to her because they wanted her to be something different. And especially during those times, that was quite dangerous, essentially, to say who you were.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it moved eventually to her throat, but it ended up in her neck because she kept pushing it back and pushing it back.
Hmm.
And so there
Interesting.
is always a very logical
Yes.
thing that happens for people
Wait,
to end up with
you're
their,
underestimating yourself. It's logical for someone who works with energy healing. It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
logical to everyone. Okay.
No,
So, I mean,
I agree with that.
energy
It's
healing
logical if you understand the wisdom of the body.
of the wisdom.
But
Now,
yeah,
that's where I
logical.
wanted to bring you because you have this book, all right, Awaken the Healer Within, um, tapping into your. Wait, no, no, no. I made a mistake in the title of your book, The Secret Language of Your Body, which includes, of course, this. Um, I wanted to know this awaken, how you can awaken the healer within for someone who's never worked with energy before and tap into your body's wisdom, which is innate.
It really starts with people, well, firstly, making a decision to be open minded and teachable.
Yeah,
And then it's, you have to do that.
yeah,
And then it you have to slow down. You have to make a decision that actually slowing down and connecting to yourself is really important to you.
yeah.
And then what I do to get people to connect to their body a bit more is I'll get them to actually move their body. So I'll get them to
Yes,
stand up
good.
and I'll say, okay, close your eyes, focus on your body. Where in your body is there any pain, discomfort,
Yes,
doesn't feel good? And they might say, well, in many places, and I'll just go, okay, pick one. Let's start with one place. Can you place your, let's say, one of your hands or both of your hands on that part of your body? Can you breathe into that area and become aware of the sensation? Describe this sensation to me.
yes,
And then I'll actually say, okay, we're going, depends on who it is, but I might go, if you can, do you remember ever being next to a fire? Now
yes,
imagine that there is a fire in front of you. And what you're going to do is you're going to take that sensation of that energy into your hands, literally, physically, and then you're going to shake it out into this fire.
right,
And so I literally get them to shake their one arm first. So let's say it's the right arm. So just shaking the right arm out for about 30 to 40 seconds.
right.
And then after we've done that, I'll go, okay, take about 30 seconds to feel and connect to your body. Does it feel any different? Because we need people to actually recognize, and when we've moved some energy and when we haven't, and what energy is. And so they'll start saying, oh, I feel warmer, I feel circulation, the other part feels numb. And so then we'll do the same with the other part of the body, and we'll either keep going and use both of our arms to, again, shaking our body. We might do a hip area. We might even, when I've done it live, we might even dance and move
Of course.
through the whole room,
Mm-hmm.
shaking the whole body, letting go.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more you move the body, the faster and easier it is to actually get a person to connect
To
to
the
their body
body.
and start to recognize what's going on.
Mm. Well, this was a great introduction, but now let's talk about your book. What is the secret language of the body? And how does it show us where to begin? Exactly where, that word is not a word chosen by chance. The secret language of your body. When did you publish that?
Well, originally that particular book was actually, and I've written many, well, several, I should say,
Other. Hmm.
since, not many, a few. And this one was originally published in Australia in 2007, and
Hmm.
then it we updated it and added a lot of new information, and it was
Hmm.
published in the US and Australia in its new version 2010. So
Hmm.
it's been around for a while.
Yeah. And is this a book that would allow me? I go to Amazon, get the book, or I go to the bookstore, get the book, reading it. will this sensitize me to start understanding how my body can help me heal?
Well, it has for a lot of people. I'm not going to say it's for, that everyone will understand it straight away, which
Sure.
is also why I teach workshops on this,
Good.
just to help people go deeper. But for a lot of people, including in Italy, it was actually published in Italian,
Oh,
I'm going to say. So for a lot of people, and I've had personally probably tens of thousands of people contact me directly, obviously, because it has sold a lot of copies,
good.
over 1 million.
Brava.
Um, and people just saying that, you know, everything from arthritis
Right.
to
Yes.
back pain
Yes.
to um, pain with their like RSI in their wrists
Mm-hmm.
to asthma to and chest and throat issues to digestive issues. I mean, I've literally had these thousands of testimonials from people going, I didn't know anything about the body, and I went and, the book fell out and somebody
Yes.
told me about the book, fell out of the shelf at a bookshop, and I started using it, not even thinking that it would really help me to change my health condition, and it did. I mean, it was funny, not that long ago my partner went to a homeopath
Mm-hmm.
to get some homeopathics, and when she found out that that we were in a relationship, she said, oh my god, I actually had cancer, and when I had cancer I had the book in the hospital, and she said, I don't know that I would still be alive if I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have the book. And this is something I've heard so many
And
times from so
of
many
course, and
people.
what's he going to a homeopath for? That was
Oh, I try not
interesting.
to work in family.
Listen, I would like to allow our listeners to be able to find you and contact you. Can you give us if you have a website, tell me, and well,
Yeah.
first of all, I'm speaking to Inna, Inna Segal, Segal. Go.
So a great way is to actually go to innerseagull.com. So
Inner,
INNA, as you said, inner.
inner,
So my
uh,
name, INNA
Inna. Mm-hmm.
SEGAL
Uh-huh.
.com.
Yeah.
And there's so many freebies that we have.
Good.
We have master classes in particular, and the master classes go through everything that we've spoken to, but in
Uh-huh.
much more detail because they're a bit longer,
Uh-huh.
and also several processes. So people can actually give themselves a few hours, grab a pen and paper, and start to explore. And then if they want to go deeper, they might order a book or they might do
Good.
an actual course with me, which would be great.
So they can contact you through that site. There is a contact
Yeah,
form.
yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
I don't know how to start to thank you for this time that you've given us because we can't talk enough about energy healing. We can't. I mean, I've been doing this work so long. My partner just says, "Oh, she, that she's in menopause or something. She's into the, high flying spirituality thing." And then just recently, and I mean just recently, he came, look, maybe you can do your magic on me. My back is killing me. So I said, okay. It is. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming to talk to us today, Ina. I hope to have you back.
Thank you so much.
We'll talk again. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow Let's Talk Soul podcast on Instagram. Let's Talk Soul podcast is a production of Electrocast Media. Our executive producers are Mark Netter and Peter Rafelson. If you like our show and like what you hear, please subscribe and give us a rating wherever you enjoy podcasts. And remember, stay curious, stay inspired, and never stop exploring the depths of your soul.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Peter.
We're the founders of Electrocast Media, bringing you great podcasts like Nightmare Road Stories, Tech Talk Revolution, and Bodacious Minds.
Electrocast networks include Ruby for female empowerment, the Best Business Network, and GPN for geopolitics. We built this company to create community and amplify diverse voices, and we really appreciate your support.
So, keep listening to Electrocast podcasts and hear the culture.
Electrocast.